Top 10 long-term pickups from this year's Mega Tens. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button and check out Kong's. Use discount code M40 to save on your purchase. Spell card, Soul Exchange. This is probably one of my favorite cards out of this set right now because we've already seen so much application and discussion around this and the Monster Reborn that these have both been phenomenal cards that players have been wanting and clamoring for. And the fact that both Monster Reborn and this in their new forms are going to be available in massively huge rarity upgrades, I actually think is an absolute win. And also we've seen that this card is fantastic at board breaking. You're able to literally break your opponent apart and do so many crazy things with it. And also, it is Flunderee's best friend, so if you are a rogue player, I think that's going to be something that you're going to quite enjoy. Casual side of things is good. Now let's talk about Mimighoul here. Now Mimighoul is another really awesome choice to see out here, getting some major rarity upgrades or just, you know, cheaper availability in general. You also got Bot Herder out of this set, which when you're in the deck building space, I love this deck. Also, it is coming out in the OCG deck build pack, which does mean that there should be some Mimighoul support coming down the pipeline here in a future core set. And there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more prepared on that side of things. We know that they tend to promote these themes and try to push them a little bit better. And I think that that's actually really, really nice of them. So I do think Mimighoul is going to be a deck core that's going to reward you for a long time to come, considering, you know, they are going to want to pump this up and do very well with it. Now we have Ashen and Vidos. Now Vidos himself is a card that's going to be massively cheap. Nobody should really be having an excuse anymore about this card being something that, you know, people aren't going to be able to afford. I think it's going to be very nice to see that Vidos as a hand trap becomes way easier to access, but also the action stuff in general will be very, very nice to access. And I think that that will actually work out pretty nice on that front. Hey, deck cores are very, very strong to see. And you do see a lot of potential in these sorts of, you know, things. You guys know that if you can get a whole deck core in a set, a lot more people are inclined to pick those sort of things up. And I think that's an actual W here. We'll take those. The Dominuses. So the Dominuses right now are a very interesting topic because if you're a casual Blue Eyes player, you're going to want purges. You know, if you're playing Yummy, you're going to want purges. If you're playing, you know, other things that, you know, like Malice, for example, you're going to want impulses. The tins this year push the bill and make these cards way more affordable. And I understand the case in point of what they're trying to do here. They want these particular cards to be, you know, more accessible to the average player. And I think that that is a win in and itself. Availability is always going to be a little bit better, even though they might be in less quantities, because they are megatins, man. You know, you never know what card's going to end up getting destroyed, you know, by some sort of, you know, hard to pull factor. It's a little bit rough. The Dark Magician Girl, the Shining Sarc stuff. So this is something I talked about in the pickups, that I think long term this is going to be very rewarding to players, because this package opens up the door to allowing you access to turning into Dark Magician, the dragon of all that fun stuff. And Red Eyes Dark Dragoon Turbo Express is really, really good. I love that fact that we get that. But we don't know when we're getting the Tactical Try stuff. So we're going to have to deal with the cheap available options now before we see, you know, another explosion or another discussion on, you know, where to go from there. But I think long term, this is a W. I think they did a very fantastic job with this, because Dark Magician Girl is always going to be a option that players are going to want to have. All right, this checks all of the bills. Chaos Sorcerer. This is a card that I think everybody will agree that this should have been a QCR. And I don't know why we didn't get this in QCR in the first place, but the fact that they made up for their mistake and said, hey guys, we know we messed up. We're going to give this to you in Starlight Rare as kind of a little discount. I don't necessarily hate that fact, but you do actually have this all wrapped up in a very nice bow, and they're actually helping us out very, very nicely. All jokes aside, I mean, the state of older formats is a completely different topic, but if you're picking up things like the Chaos Sorcerer, you should be picking them up because you enjoy them. They're those sorts of cards that definitely will bling out your older format deck, and, you know, even so, there's something for everybody in these sorts of products. I think that's a W. Chaos Ruler. Oh my god. This card, so the ban card section in this set is very impressive to me, because there's so many ideas and so many things that could potentially swing around with this, and Chaos Ruler is a scary card. The fact you get Excavation, the fact that you get the ability to revive the body, it is such a pain in the butt to deal with. And I can understand out here why people look at this card and they are so just, you know, taken aback by it. If this card actually does come back, this is going to be the set that you're going to want to have it. And it's actually kind of nice that Konami, if we are going to do this, they are prepping us. They are giving us an opportunity to get ahead of the curve. And that's a win, man. I don't see any problems with getting ahead of the curve and seeing, you know, what we can do here. And then we have Doesn't Matter Dragon. This is one of the cards that caused a lot of controversy in the community. A lot of people were losing their minds, and they were just going nuts for it. And I don't really blame them for that. You know, you're like, oh my god, you know, I can't believe this. Here's the thing. It is a triple Foolish Burial for dragons. Dragon Rulers absolutely wants to see this card. It can do some pretty impressive things. But your takeaway with this is it's a lot more of an investment. But how high is the ceiling for this? I don't know. Also, 4K is quite a impressive stat line for a boss monster that could potentially, you know, really scare people. So I understand the coin toss with this. I understand why people are a little bit, you know, I don't know if this is the safe thing, but, you know, it's a long-term pickup, and it needed a reprint. Metamorphosis. Now, much like Chaos Sorcerer here, this has to do with older formats and or a potential return back to the game. Now, we've already seen this card bouncing around in discussions, you know. A lot of people are like, well, what can you do with one Metamorphosis? Thrust into it. If this card actually comes back, we can thrust into this card, and it turns into one of the craziest and dumbest cards that you can actually have running around in the game. And that's a scary thought, actually. You don't really want Metamorphosis running around, because being able to turn, you know, a boss monster into a Last Warrior from Another Planet, for an example, that you just thrust it off of after you board cleared your opponent and they use the spell card, is insane to think about. But it would definitely promote a changing game. It would promote new deck design, and I'm intrigued by that. And then, of course, long-term says it all with Pot of Greed. This is actually a pretty collectible thing. I mean, you've already got the Pot collection, and you've got the QCR, and I mean, this game has always been about the meme that Pot of Greed, you know, radiates. This card is always going to be one of those major things that players are going to look at, and they're going to go, oh, you know, I guess that's kind of cool. Yeah, now you can get a Starlight version of this. And I'll be able to listen to players in 5 years complaining that they didn't get them when they were cheap. You know, it is that sort of product. But these are the real long-term pickups for the most part. So what do you guys think? Please, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. See your beautiful faces back. You'll learn day, guys. Peace. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.